So I've been doing this for about 7 to 8 years. That's when I bought my first flat. I was 22.
Oh wow. The generation, like our parents' age or even slightly older, maybe made more money from buying their home than they made from working.
When I finished uni and really was serious for 2 years, I did actually sacrifice everything. There was no balance. There was no social life.
A lot of people get stuck in that, analysis paralysis where they're always looking at what they could do.
Exactly. So now I just make sure I take the regular breaks to pause, to plan, to step back, to evaluate, am I enjoying what I'm creating? Do I need to change it? Do I need to try something else?
Welcome back to another episode of the Property by Kazzy podcast with myself, Kaz. Each and every week we've got a special guest. This week it's extra special because by no design, we're matching, we're looking great. Jade Vanriel, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. We were just talking off mic about going on holiday. So now I've got that holiday feeling and I feel like I've got some holiday blues, but need to book something real soon.
You do.
So I already know that the majority of people already know you because you've been absolutely killing it. Content creator, host, property finder, creating content around property and lifestyle. Is there anything in that intro that I've missed?
No, I think that kind of sums me up. Yeah.
So I guess where did you get started? I know this is like a quite common question, but obviously I've seen your bio and it's you've young, you've been in the game. You've been in the game for longer than I thought.
Yeah, I know. You thought I was, 3 years younger? Well, technically almost 4 because I'm turning 30 this year.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So Kazzy thought I was 26. I'm 29. So I've been doing this for about 7 to 8 years. That's when I bought my first flat. I was 22.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time. Yeah.
And was you buying your first flat? Was that what started you making content around that, or did you make content and then buy the flat?
So I had a YouTube channel, but I was literally just copying other girls from the UK, like doing videos on what's in my bag, like what have I bought this month, just random stuff. And I'd probably post like one video a month. And then I went through that crazy journey of buying my flat so young and the ups and downs that I thought I'm going to just share this on YouTube once I finally am in my flat. So that was like my focus. When I'm in my flat, I'm going to start YouTube videos on this topic. And it was just not being talked about at all on socials, especially not from that point of view, especially not that age group. So that's where it sort of began. And then it just kind of fell into a career.
What made you buy your first property that young?
So I went to uni in Birmingham and I didn't want to go back home to my mum. I felt grown. So I was like, right, I've got some savings. I've been saving for a while because of my dad, like part-time jobs, stuff like that. And I didn't want to go straight into renting just because it's just not something I was used to. So I was used to like my mum, she bought our flat that we grew up in. She struggled, but it was just a norm that you would buy a place. You might struggle, but you'd buy it. So I had savings, so I knew that I would eventually buy. I didn't realize though that I would be able to do it so soon after uni. So it was 2 years after uni. And I essentially found a job straight out of uni, sacrificed, didn't live that free life that everyone does when they finish like learning, saved, and then eventually bought a flat.
Even whilst you were at uni, you had the mentality that
I
I
was
want to buy
saving.
somewhere.
I wanted to buy somewhere, but I didn't think it would have been that soon, just because at the time I was so not aware of what things would cost. I thought I would need way more money and much more money in terms of income. But literally while I was basically after uni in the 2 year time period, I was staying with an aunt and it was the worst experience, but it was what I needed because I was uncomfortable. And I remember saying to my dad, you know what, I think I'm just going to have to rent somewhere because I can't live here anymore. And he was like, no, let's go speak to a broker now. I'm telling you, you're ready. And I was. Yeah.
I think that is a common misconception that a lot of people, old or young, often tell themselves that they're not ready without any real basis of where that came from.
Right?
So for example, my credit's not perfect. I don't know how much, but realistically, I think my thing is until you know how far you are away from something, you don't know how close you are either, or if you're already there
at all.
And the worst case is you get some feedback to say, okay, go and do this, and this, and now you have goals to work towards.
You got a plan, exactly, and you have a time frame that you can plan out and stuff.
So was the first property you bought, was that in Birmingham?
No, that was in Essex.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So you came back, but I think even going sort of back, you know, you said, was it your parents had owned, so you had it in your head that now that's kind of what we do,
Yeah,
so to
well,
speak?
yeah. I mean, I come from a mixed family. Some people do rent, and the people that have bought, so like my nan, my dad's mum, she bought. Everyone that has bought, they did struggle. It was never an easy thing. We're talking people that haven't earned loads of money, but they've bought off the council through Right to Buy, stuff like that. My mum bought our home, which was a council flat. She bought it off them in a great area, so she managed to like find a really good place. I mean, I grew up there my whole life, but it was a struggle being a single mom. But it was just normal to me that you would just buy a flat, if that makes sense. It was just the right thing in my mind to do.
Do you think there is an element, and we have this conversation sometimes, particularly, I mean, you don't fall in Gen Z, do you? Do you fall
No,
in,
I'm
you fall in
millennial, I think.
millennials?
Yeah,
You just
like
fall
in
in
the middle,
millennials.
yeah.
But even regardless, whether it's Gen Z or
Yeah.
millennials, that we don't like to struggle.
No one likes to struggle.
And obviously no one
likes to struggle, but
no one's
nobody
willing to struggle.
is willing. That's the issue. And what I always used to say at little 22-year-old Jade was like the importance of delayed gratification. I've always said that, like, people don't want to like sacrifice or wait a little bit. They just want things instantly. And that, I think, is what the issue is. That's why I'm so passionate about sharing this stuff. Like,
No, I think, yeah, it's a conversation I have as well.
Yeah.
The club will always be there. It's not
It's always
going
gonna be
anywhere. The days out are always going to be. And I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself, don't
Exactly.
go on holidays, but it's give and take. And I
Definitely.
think also if if basically you save with purpose,
Yeah.
you can then spend guilt-free.
Oh my gosh, that guilt-free feeling of spending is
Like, I've already
unmatched.
saved. This is my spending
I'm good.
money.
I'm
Yeah.
allowed to spend this. And do you know what's funny is when I was saving and stuff, I wasn't perfect. I had times where I would blow everything, and then that horrible feeling of, oh my, why have I done that? Wishing I could just turn it around or reverse time, and you can't. And I think I had to feel. I'm someone that I needed to feel that for me to actually listen and understand the lesson that my dad was trying to tell me. But no, it wasn't easy. And when I finished uni and really was serious for 2 years, I did actually sacrifice everything. There was no balance. There was no social life. But that was because I really needed somewhere to live. And I was adamant that I would get it done by a certain time frame, birthday. But you don't have to be like that. It just depends on your situation and your circumstance. Like,
Yeah.
if you're comfortable at home, you can have a bit of balance.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I definitely think having a goal,
Yeah.
it just creates that drive of like, and I always liken it to when I was first trying to get used to jogging again and trying to
Yeah.
do like 3K, and just hearing like the time, like, okay, you've got this far and you've got this long left. You know when you've got to push a little bit more. You know when you can give a little bit, and you can kind of work at your own pace. Whereas if you
Yeah.
don't know how far you're trying to get,
Where are you heading to?
how do you
What's
know
the
when?
direction?
Yeah, how do you know when to keep going, when you can stop?
Exactly.
So I definitely think setting goals is really important, and break them down into little
Very.
steps.
Yeah.
In terms of little steps, because I guess that's what you went on to talk about in your YouTube channel.
Yes.
All of the things that you wish you knew going into buying that first property.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you think they're not taught, you had no idea about, that you learned from that experience of buying your first home?
So at the time, like I said, there was barely any like information online like that was digestible. So there were so many things I learned on the way. Things like getting a mortgage in principle in order to see a property. When my dad, from his experience, that wasn't a thing. You didn't need to do that. Why? Because there wasn't 10, 20 people to one property. So you didn't need to stand out like that. So it's things like making sure you are completely prepared to actually offer on a property and be accepted. Things like, stamp duty. That was something that I just wasn't aware of at the time, that I learned, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay this. Luckily, though, when I bought, it was just before stamp duty was, taken away for first-time buyers. So I did pay, but then I was reimbursed.
You got a rebate.
Yeah, so like thankfully, because literally right after that it changed. But there's just so many little things. I was even like getting emotionally attached to like properties that were not worth it. Just not knowing what is good, what isn't good, what is right, what would potentially like make money in the future. Just all of those things you kind of learn as you go. Now there is a lot of content online that is useful, that you can learn from, but at the time it was just figuring it all out.
Do you think there's anything that stands out to you even from that purchase or from that experience? You're like, it happened, I'm still grateful, but I wish I would have done this a little bit differently?
Honestly, no. I think do you know what? During the viewing process and searching, I was dead set on certain specific areas just because I had heard about them. But I was not getting enough for my money. And I remember arguing with my dad, like, I don't want to go that side. I want to stay over here. And he was constantly trying to tell me, like, open up your search. So that is something that I preach about now, is like, don't be so rigid, because you can honestly miss blessings, miss great opportunities. Luckily, at the final straw, I think I was just desperate at this point, I finally opened up my search and did find something that was way better than what I was originally looking at. And now, years later, I'm benefiting from that choice. So I would say that that was a standout thing.
Yeah, I think,
be open. Yeah.
I think, yeah, like entitlements of I grew up here, so I should earn
Oh my
here.
gosh, yeah.
The reality
I
is,
know people here, I have to stay around here.
the reality is that some people, you know, grew up in zone 1, and it could be.
Yeah, I grew up in zone 2. Now I'm in Essex.
And it's so, do you see what I mean? But the thing is that if you're always forever waiting and saying, okay, one day, tomorrow, the reality is that tomorrow never comes.
Yeah.
And taking action now, taking that first step now, effectively, you call it like you jumping on the train.
Yeah.
So you're part of the journey. So
Yeah.
as prices go up, you're already there.
I literally posted a reel on this week talking about like the whole idea of people not wanting to buy unless it's their dream home or the perfect home. And I was saying, like, look, sometimes you have to think outside of the box and just get on this ladder, right? Start somewhere and build your way up. But if you kind of wait for the perfect home, the prices are obviously going up, interest rates, whatever. You might not be able to afford what you want in the future. It's like, just start. And that first property that might not be perfect, you might make some money off. And
the amazing thing about property is, particularly from an investment standpoint, in your residential purchase, is you benefit from no capital gains.
Yeah.
So the money that you make, you're not paying secondary tax on if it was an
Exactly.
investment property.
Yeah.
Also, if you're able and you're not fortunate enough to put in a 10% deposit, you benefit from the entire appreciation of that value
That's
of the
me
property.
now. Yeah.
And so when I have conversations with people, when I do like some consultancy for people that are not really sure where they're at, I had a conversation with a great couple, probably bit older, but both working as supervisors in fast food.
Okay.
So, and they're like, oh, we're not going to be able to buy a property for
Yeah.
ages. But realistically, when we looked at it, because they, as a couple, you get that multiplier
Together,
effect of their income
Yeah.
collectively on just under 50,000. They couldn't find their dream home. It wasn't what they wanted, but they found a home in actually an area. You don't have to compromise on everything. So they were really focused on area. But they went from saying, we has to be a 2-bed with a garden, saying, okay, you know what, we're going to get a 1-bed, maybe above commercial. It's not where we want to be.
Yeah.
But realistically,
Something.
that property, if you buy somewhere for 200,000 with a 20,000 pounds deposit,
Yeah.
that property goes up from 200 to 240,000 pounds. You've like, you know what I mean, tripled your money in a certain period of time, and saving 20,000 pounds. You remember how hard it is to save that amount of money.
Very hard. Exactly. So let it work for you, you know?
Have conversations with people that, again, investing in property in an early stage, some people make more money, they particularly the generation like our parents' age or even slightly older, maybe made more money from buying their home than they made from working their entire working life.
They would never have got, you know, a salary of that caliber. Yeah.
Like if you were the people that, you know, sort of slightly after Windrush were buying in like Notting Hill, which was a
my
bad area at the time, these were houses that were going for 25, 50,000 that are now worth 1.5 million. You work that backwards, that's 20 years, 30 years worth of salary.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's going to replicate over time, but you can potentially be part of that. Oh
yeah. It's still happening in certain areas. Like I said, that example, very similar to mine right now. I'm going to walk away when I sell with a lot because I, was open on area, but also was thinking, okay, what is coming to this area, researching that. So much so that I was like, there's so many different things that I would do just to see what the trajectory of an area will be and whether it's a good place for me to put my money.
Exactly. You got key things, you got transport links,
exactly.
You've got investments in infrastructure.
Yeah.
And the other thing
even
is
down
follow
to like
the money.
Shopping, follow it. Things I used to do is like go on like job websites, and they'll be like, oh, new restaurant opening in this area, we need people instantly. Okay, there's restaurants coming to this area, there's more jobs, there's this, there's that. Council notes where they're talking about future regeneration or whatever. Like, these are things that you should be looking at, not just the road or just I like the area because it's nice, you know.
So then let's move on. So obviously you bought this first property.
Yes.
and then you started to obviously tell your story. So that was firstly the actual process,
Yeah.
but also the lifestyle side of you, I guess, making your property
Yeah,
not an investment
transforming it.
but your home.
Yeah.
What did you do in terms of like what was your thought process when it came to, because that's also another reason why it went up in value, because
Absolutely,
of how
yeah.
you
Because it was
designed it.
horrendous.
So talk to me about it
So
now. Talk to me about your style.
Yeah, so I didn't do anything structural.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ex-local authority property. I didn't want to do too much because ultimately this is not my forever home. But I did strip the walls, the carpets, clean it up, DIY'd a lot of things. Like the kitchen is not new. I've just DIY'd it. It looks new.
You did, yeah?
Yeah.
Talk to me about this DIY. Cause...
So you can do things like wrap the worktop, stuff like that, change the doors. Because my dad, he knows how to, he's a Jamaican man. He knows how to do everything. So all the electrics, he did it. Flooring, my dad and my brother did it. Changing the kitchen doors and stuff, my dad did it. So it's like you don't have to always completely rip out a kitchen if it's in a decent condition, especially if it's your first home and you're on a budget. Like you don't need to go in over your head just to get something to look decent, especially if you're not planning to live there forever.
But I think that also goes to speak to, you can create your home.
Yes,
you don't have to buy that end product.
Yeah.
And if you used examples like, wrapping, kitchen units, worktops, I've seen people, paint tiles, then things that, for example, changing laminate flooring, carpet that can be relatively inexpensive and you can DIY it.
And it will look so good.
And not only will it look so good, but effectively, when you create a finished product, people will pay a premium for something that they can walk into. Because
they don't have to do it. Literally, they don't have to do any of it. You got to think of it like when I was looking, when you were looking for the property, what things stood out to you? Oh, I don't want to have to do a bathroom. I don't want to have to do a kitchen. So if you provide those spaces in a decent way for the next person, they are more willing to offer a better price because they know they're not going to have to spend money on those things.
It's good. I think that's some good advice for anyone that's obviously looking or in the process of buying a property, maybe has saved the deposit money, but is trying to find that balance of where they want to live versus where it makes good investment sense. Yeah. That's a good way to kind of tick two boxes and kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So you started making content around that space. And I guess, did you find, your subscribers more engaged as opposed to the previous content when you started making?
100%. I mean, I was just blending in with everyone else, talking about, oh, I bought this today and I bought this, whatever. As soon as I started sharing the home buying content, that went viral everywhere. TikTok, that I'd barely even used, Instagram and YouTube. Those were the three main things at the time. But yeah, the views were crazy and I just continued, and I would just receive like what people wanted and give them that, how to say, what to look for. Like explaining freeholds, leaseholds, like all of that sort of stuff I was doing, along with documenting like transforming my flat, because I think a lot of people couldn't believe what it looks like and what it looked like now. Many people till this day say to me like, oh, I thought you bought a new build. And it's like, no, not at all.
I think a lot of people, like I said, just want everything now and want instant gratification, and also don't understand that you get a lot of value from the creative process as well.
But what I've realized is that not everyone has it. And that's what I've realized. So there is definitely a market for people that want new homes because they simply, one, might not have the creative thinking to even do that. Like a lot of people would have walked into my flat and ran when I went to view it. They would not have seen past it, so it's like, it's not for everyone. And from what you do, not everyone can do that.
I mean, look, I think everything is a skill set, and it really depends how much time you're willing to put in to learn. And if you're not, find the person who can do it and you pay them, and you focus on what you do best. You have a trade-off of skills. So you started making, this content. One of the reasons I wanted to get you on was obviously you bought your property and then made the content around it. That being said, there's definitely a space for people that are in the process of wanting to get into property and are making content, and people are making, really good salaries that would be, on par with doctors, lawyers, nurses in the social space. And I think the reason I mention that is because when people say, I'm like, one of the most common questions I get asked is, I'm this old, how do I get into property? And it doesn't have to be the conventional route.
No, there's so many different routes.
So for example, for somebody maybe that's looking to, to get into property, but maybe their focus is more in the social space and content creation, what advice would you have for them?
To just start.
Just do it.
Yeah, like you can't. There's people popping up all the time. There's
Yeah.
there's new platforms to post on all the time. Just jump on it. Just start. Make sure you know exactly what you're coming to do. Is there a gap for you? What makes you different? How would you make it your own? Don't copy other people, be authentic. But essentially just start. Literally. Just start.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's obviously action. A lot of people get stuck in that, analysis paralysis where they're always looking at what they could do.
Exactly.
Versus
and then
actually
time
going out
goes
there
by
and
and then it's like, oh, this person's done what I plan to do and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think we all have that sometimes, but you're right, it is a case of just going out there and doing. So, okay, so you've bought your property, you've created your own brand.
Yeah.
I know it's more recently.
Fell into the brand, like it wasn't a plan, I was working full time.
Verified.
It's verified now. It just happened.
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't, obviously after a while I realized, okay, this is actually a thing, and it kind of really became a thing when I got made redundant in 2019 from my full-time job. I was doing this on the side and I just thought, okay, this is my sign. I did want it, but I didn't feel prepared. I didn't feel like I had saved enough money, having a mortgage and stuff like that, but it just happened, so I just ran with it. And yeah, it became a brand.
So obviously you set your brand up, you now you're working with partners, obviously different brands that have seen value in working alongside you. What's been your favorite, or like your favorite brand partnership, or what have you done?
I can't pick one. I feel like I've done
just
so
give me
many
one
different
that you've
things.
enjoyed. Doesn't have to be the favorite.
One that
brand.
I have enjoyed. There's so many. I loved working with Experian, I would say.
Did we do that the same year?
During COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, you were on that campaign as well?
Yeah. So I was on I did, but maybe a lot of their stuff was in-house. So I did the stuff to their employees. And
Okay. So it might have been like around the same time. It was for their boost.
Yeah.
That's what they were promoting.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was a great one just because it was a full circle moment. Like Experian was my life when I was buying a flat. So it was like, they want to work with me.
Yeah, no, I think those opportunities.
That was cool. Amazing, yeah.
I was like, okay, small world. So obviously that's like been your favorite. What about, has there been a moment, because for me personally, I have like a love-hate relationship with social media.
I know, you were saying.
Like, so I've gone times where people are like, where's Kaz gone? Like people are calling my phone, like you've not posted in 4 months. Like, how do you stay consistent and motivated?
You have to have breaks. Like I went on holiday 4 weeks ago. I'm going again next week. And I never used to take these breaks because you do get wrapped up in this whole, you have to keep on going with the algorithms, with everything. It's like you can't afford to take a break and disappear because then you got to work yourself back up. But I've realized, like, you know what? My followers are there. If they want the content, they're going to find me. They will see, Jade hasn't posted. They will search my name and they can re-engage, and then the algorithm will show them me again. So now I just make sure I take the regular breaks to pause, to plan, to step back, to evaluate, am I enjoying what I'm creating? Do I need to change it? Do I need to try something else? But you have to take the break. So maybe not 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months is a bit extreme.
Yeah.
But I think, do you know what? It's sometimes for me, I think, it's also, you can almost, I don't know if I would call it like an inferiority complex, but it's like, because on social media, all you see is people posting is wins. If you're having a bit of a down day, week, month, and you're not winning right then, then it's like, all these people are winning.
I've been
and it
there.
can almost be counterproductive, like being on the socials.
Because then it kind of stops you, instead of doing the opposite of, I need to go hard, it kind of pushes you back, like, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that. Yeah, I've been there, definitely.
Okay, so you keep pushing, and then you've now built other brands and other income streams outside of the content creation. For example, as a property sourcer. When did you start that?
So roughly 2 years ago, fell into that again. Because of the person that I was my first client was a friend. So yeah, fell into it and then realized, I'm really good at this actually.
So how's that going? What did I see? I know I saw something recently.
It was Tion Wayne, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first client. Since then, so I don't just do like really expensive homes with like first time buyers. But before him, I was kind of doing it in a way anyway with my followers who would ask for advice or help and stuff or direction. But I love it. I think it comes naturally to me. And I'm always online looking at houses anyway. So.
And I think the thing about it is, like, particularly outside of even people looking for their first home or a massive home, like, effectively what you're doing is deal analysis, but on the residential market. And I think deal analysis is the most important skill set as a property investor that you can have. The idea of being able to benchmark a property, because you don't have infinite money, with all these other variables, i.e. type, age, condition, service charges, local amenities, and say, okay, this represents good value for money. This
is good. So it's not easy, but it's fun. It's a nice challenge. It is fun. Yeah.
So we got any more nice properties you're looking at the moment?
I have a few coming up potentially. Speaking with a few people, some people have got in contact who are people again, but people it's not just about people it's anyone that's interested, that needs that advice and that help. And then another way, I do a lot of property tours as well, so through those, that's another stream of income. I get paid to market, but I also get commission should people like buy through me. So
so obviously people can go and find it on your YouTube and they'll find it. So if people want to search for a nice house, some inspiration, what house would you say you walked around and you said, wow, this one is top
nice.
tier?
If you love a shiny brand new house, then I did do a tour in Colchester. That video went crazy on TikTok and everything. I think it's like 400k views or whatever. But I would say that house, till this day, people still messaging me asking me if it's available. And it is, because someone was buying it and then it fell through. So but I'd say that house. So
what do they search if they search Colchester?
Okay, you search Jade Vanriel Colchester. That's it. It will come up. Yeah.
So we need to go watch that video.
Go watch it.
Let us know. Give us a out of 10 in the comments.
It's on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. There's a detailed version on YouTube.
What's your favorite platform at the moment?
It used to be YouTube. Now, since COVID, it's Instagram, just because during lockdowns, my Instagram went crazy. Work was crazy. I was the busiest I've ever been. It makes the most money. But I can't lie, I always have loved YouTube. So I'm trying to be consistent on YouTube again.
The thing is, obviously, YouTube is where you just make the money on the platform.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else it's outside of the platform. And
I do get paid to do YouTube work as well. Not as much as Instagram now, but it used to be flipped.
Okay.
So originally I would get paid only on YouTube, never on Instagram. I never made any money on it up until maybe 2020, I'd say. That's when I started really getting paid. If ever, it was mainly YouTube with a bit of Instagram work, but it was never just Instagram. Now it's flipped.
I think it is. And I think that's the thing. You can't allow your business to rely on a platform.
No.
Because platforms change, There were people, particularly in the property space, that were absolutely massive on Facebook. I'm talking 15,000, 20,000 people in Facebook groups that just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
We've all seen the death of multiple platforms, whether that be
MySpace.
I'm old enough for MySpace.
I remember MySpace.
Some of you might not be here for MySpace.
I remember MySpace.
There was MySpace,
great.
there was Bebo, all these things that were massive and literally don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So
you have to keep, and obviously I'm on TikTok as well. TikTok is very yes, no, up and down, but you still post there anyway because you just never know.
Yeah, I think you've got to be across all platforms. And basically at the end, I think what you've done very well is you are your brand.
Yeah.
And then these are just, marketing arms that you can use to push your own brand.
Exactly.
So I know you're speaking events. Do you enjoy those?
I do. I get nervous, really nervous. People always surprised when I say that. But I do. Up until I sit down, then I'm like, all right, someone needs to be helped here. So let me say everything I need to say.
Why do you get nervous? Do you get nervous because
I'm
you don't feel like you know
an
enough,
introvert. I'm a shy person, believe it or not.
I say this a lot.
I am. No one ever believes me, but I honestly am. I honestly am my whole life. When I told my mum I was starting YouTube, she was so shocked because it was so unlike me to her. She was just like, are you sure? Because I was just a quiet, shy person. I think when you do socials, it forces you to come out of your shell, and I needed that. But I'm still a human, so I'm used to filming videos and no one else is there. So now when I'm in front of hundreds, tens or whatever of people at an event, I'm going to be shy.
Yeah.
But then when I sit down, you remember, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
I think I've had those moments where, particularly if I'm sitting in front of people that I'm like, these are high net worth individuals.
Are they gonna?
I'm just Kazzy in a hoodie.
Am I gonna say something wrong?
Exactly. But the reality is, I guess it's always good where you can see people's faces, you can see feedback, they're
it.
enjoying it.
Definitely.
So what's next for you? What else do you want to do in this property space? Because you've sort of spread your wings quite wide.
Trying different things. I feel like for many years, like, it wasn't okay to try different things. It's like, you've decided to do this, you have to stick to this. Everything I'm doing is to do with property anyway, but I'm just trying different things and seeing what I like. I think going forward, definitely more international property. Like I said, I went to Doha recently and did some stuff there. That was amazing. And I'll be doing some stuff on my next trip next week. I think I want to do more of that. I've got a few other trips planned to do work. More property finding, grow my platforms, some things coming out hopefully soon that will enhance my offering of advice and property tips and all of that. So yeah, just make things bigger. Yeah.
Yes, and with all of this, all these revenue streams, do you plan to reinvest in property?
Oh yeah. So I'm planning to buy a new home this year, fingers crossed. And then the possibilities are endless. I think I will be, my dad's moved recently to Liverpool. He has a lot of property there, and I think I'll be like honing in there, around that area.
From an investment perspective, in Liverpool. That's really interesting. Well, I'm sure everybody is going to be connecting with you. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you if they haven't already?
Yeah, you can find me on every platform, like we said. Jade Vanriel on everything.
Amazing. Well, we appreciate you coming on to talk to everyone about your journey. We're excited to see what's next. I know we've had conversations off mic, on mic, via, we have Instagram,
lots more to talk about
other stuff that we need to do. And I know there's a lot of potential, whether it be, like you said, from a presenting perspective, the overseas market. So there's always a lot of opportunities, which is why it's always great to chat. This has been another episode of the Property by Kazi podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back next week for another video.